Good morning, people, or should I say good afternoon. Tuesday, about 2:30. I've knocked the pushrod tubes out, which was meant making a punch on the lathe. I've got it all set up on this angle plate, which I luckily got very recent, and I'm ready to start pecking away at that bloody stud. So there we go. Monday was cancelled due to the pouring rain getting into my cousin's conservatory and soaking all his central heating boiler and control gear, which blew up, of course, so I had to go and sort that out yesterday. So here we go. Right, I've got a little divot in the middle of it. I'm now going to peck away at it and see if I can get it out. I'll bring you back later. 4:30, folks, and it's come out. I've got it loose. Got the most of the threads picked out, and I've got it loose inside. It's a matter of now just breaking it up into little pieces. I might put a helicoil in it. I've just thought, actually, I've got some quarter Whitworth helicoils, which would fit a slightly larger hole, but I'm nowhere near up to helicoil size yet. Or I could get some M7x1 helicoils, but I might just bang a Whitworth one in. I'll see how this comes out. One thing I did find on my clean-up, I don't know if I told you before, but if I can find them, I found that both pushrod tubes have holes in them. Look at that. That's the one that was repaired, which just has a hole there. But when I just pushed a wire brush across the other one, look, corroded right through. Of course, when these leak, the oil runs out. When the oil runs out, that's the oil cooler. When the oil runs out, they get very hot indeed and blow up very quickly. So, for 16 quid a pushrod tube, it's probably worth saving you a wrecked engine, because a reconditioned engine, a 2CV reconditioned engine, believe it or not, is 1,325 quid. So there you go. So all those parts I threw away, well, I didn't throw them away, but I sold them very cheap. Were worth a fortune. Right, I shall crack on with this, but first I'm going to have a cup of tea, because now I've got the last piece of it loose. I feel like a bit of a celebration. Bye for now. And there it is, people. The little bastard. It's out. I didn't get my drilling quite down the centre, right, but the little bits of broken thread appear to have tapped out alright, so I shall reserve judgment on that. I've got two choices now. I can put a M7x1 helicoil in it, but I need to order some, or I can just stick a quarter Whitworth helicoil in it, which is what I might do, because I've already got some quarter Whitworths. And it's quarter Whitworth is very close to the diameter. It's just that the 1mm thread is finer. But I mean, Whitworth in aluminium, you know. There you go. Right, well, that's taken me more or less all day. Although I had to turn up this punch, if I can find it, to get the push rods out. There it is. One punch, reduced diameter, nice 30°, 20° taper on the end, and it whacked the pushrod tubes out a treat. There's my broken end of pipe, ready for welding. I just need to take the manifold off and weld the other bit and clean the other bit as well. What this is, these manifolds are built up as a casting. And what they do is they have a complex casting that they put pieces of steel tube into, right? So that and that are steel tube, and they're put into the mould, and then the cast bit is poured and it melts the outer surface of the steel tube and seals it into the casting. Quite a common process. You'll see it a lot on older vehicles, but I think there's enough steel on there for me to get a welder on there. When I've cleaned that up, it fits quite well. I'll have to get it well tacked up with the cylinder head back on though, because otherwise I won't get the alignment right. As you can imagine, this alignment here is quite critical. It has to be virtually exactly right. So, ho hum. Never mind. And of course now I've seen those pushrod tubes are full of holes, I'm going to have to set this cylinder head off and check it, because if I don't, all the oil's going to fall out of there and the engine will blow up. So that cylinder head's coming off next. So it's turning from a tractor into a 2CV engine rebuild, but I've done quite a few of them before. I know what I'm doing. The only thing is I haven't got sheds and sheds full of spare parts anymore. Woe is me. Now I'm quite cheerful about it, really. It's going reasonably well. Right folks, that's it for today. Almost time to go home. I'm just indulging in a rather large cup of tea, as you can see there, and I'm really glad to get that little piece of bloody metal out. But they do say, you know, you keep pecking away at them and all of a sudden they just give up and come out. And that's exactly what it did. Okay, catch you later. Right folks, it's Wednesday morning, and I just thought, seeing as I'm waiting for me spare parts to arrive, which is probably going to be this lunchtime, but at home, not at the workshop, I thought I would just whip off this gap piece here and see if I can get it fitting any better, because it's sticking up about 5 thou, and when it lifts the carriage 5 thou, it of course lifts the tool above centre height, which means it takes slightly less off. Or is it more off? No, it's less off. It takes less off. So I end up with a part that's bigger nearer the chuck than it is further out. So there you go. So I'm going to take this off, unbolt it, and I'll get back to you when I've got it off and see if we can see anything, any reason why it's sitting high, any dings or anything. Okay, bring you back in a minute. And there we go. I think we can see the cause for it. There's not only is there stacks of oil in it, it wasn't actually perfectly tightened down, and there's one or two cuttings as well. I'm wondering if it was one of the things that I took off this lathe to lighten it, because when it got picked up from Scarborough by Landylift, by Steve at Landylift, who is a cracking bloke, I'd lightened it as much as I possibly could. I'd taken off everything that I could take off, including the motor plate, the tool post, the tailstock, the chucks, literally everything I could get off it I took off it, and it was just as much as he could lift, and I'm pretty sure I took the gap bed off as well. And what I've probably done is I've oiled it and put it back on, but I've not put it back on tight, and I've not put it back on perfectly clean like it should have been. So I'll have a go at cleaning this up now, get all these cuttings out, but they're just in a slot. They're in a slot between the gap piece and the main body. They're not underneath it. So I shall clean it all off now, lightly stone it, check it for dings, and then I'll bring you back and we'll have another look and see how it's going. And I'll tell you what another strange phenomenon that's been happening. Bye for now. Right, we begin to see the light. As you can see, there is a raised area around each hole. They're the holes where the pegs go. And there's also a broken area around that thread where there's a piece broken off. Well, I don't think it's material to the thread. I think the thread is absolutely fine by the look of it, but I shall probably run a tap down there just to clean the crap out. But there we go. We're now getting to be something like flat. I've just been over that with a flat stone just to pick the high spots up, and it's done that admirably. But you can see especially there, it's high, there, all around there, and especially there where that thread is actually lifted in that hole. But what I shall do next is I shall run a tap down the threads and blow them out. Luckily all these holes go right through the casting and come out underneath, so there's no chance of any stuff getting trapped in there. There's no holes to get trapped into. And then I'm going to do the same on this, which is, can you see that? Let me just lift that into the light. Can you see that? Indeed. That looks pretty crappy as well, especially around the edges where it's actually got a bit of rust in. But we'll have to see if we can just tap the pegs out maybe and see if we can have a look at that. Right, I'll bring you back when I get a bit more done. Bye for now. Right folks, there we go. That's cleaned that up. It just needed, there was some patches of rust on it actually in these corners here, but they aren't actually the contact surface, but that's cleaned up quite well. I'm quite happy that's flat now. Same with that. I've cleaned the pins up. The pins are actually a loose fit in here, so what I'm going to do now is clean it all up, reassemble it and see how it fits. Okay, I'll bring you back when I've got it back on. I'm going to just put a little spray of Bowfix silicone oil in between them to stop it twisting. So there you go. Right, bring you back when it's all on. And there we go. It's back on. The joint now, as far as I can see, is bloody perfect. It was quite obviously up before you could get your fingernail on it, and I think that is cured. These push straight in. These pins are loose, they push straight down. You put the gap bed piece on, push the pins in to locate it, put the bolts in. The bolts weren't even tight actually. I mean, they weren't loose, but they were only just barely pinched. So there you go. Well, now they're tight and now it fits perfectly. So I'm calling that job done. So that's just a little interim piece. I'm now going back onto the Toro, and I'm going to take the manifold off and get the other side of the joint cleaned up, ready to weld when the spare parts come. And of course the next dicey job I have to tackle is to fit the new pushrod tubes and make sure that I don't wreck them, because they're very soft aluminium tube and they're very thin. We looked at them yesterday, but this is 18 mil. Oh God. Right, compressor. This is 18 mil aluminium tube, and as you can see at that end, out in the daylight, they're quite thin. So I'm going to have to turn up a punch to fit in there to drive them carefully in. So there you go. They're arriving about now at Driffield. Okay, people. That's the next job. Get that manifold off, probably check the carburetor off, get the manifold off, and get that nasty brake there cleaned up, ready for welding it when I get the head back on. And I am going to take that head off just to check the pushrod tubes, because if they're knackered, there's no point in risking the whole engine just for the sake of a pushrod tube. Okay, it'll be interesting to see if we can actually get the cylinder head off. That means stripping all that plate off again and all that. Oh dear. Oh, my life is so awful. See you later, peeps. Bye now. And there we go, peeps. 4:30 on Wednesday, and I've managed to get the manifold off. So there we are. There it is on the bench. Still bloody warm actually, with the broken piece. So next thing I'm going to do is take the carburetor off, get that on the wire wheel and get it brightened up, ready for a weld. So I can also now possibly get that cylinder head off if there's room, and if not, it's engine out. But I am noticing from its previous incarnation there's a build-up of grass inside the engine, and I think I might just modify the cooling cowls so that instead of blowing up the top, it blows straight out that side. I've got to go now because my phone's ringing. Catch you later. Good lunchtime, people. It's Thursday. I've got my second cylinder head stripped down, ready for removal. The parts have arrived from 2CV City, next day delivery, very good. I'm looking at these. This is a pushrod tube. This is a 2CV pushrod tube. It's a piece of 18mm tube, which is 1.5mm wall thickness, and it's reduced at this end, that's all. You could make these quite simply in the lathe if you can get the 18mm tube. Right, we've got the inlet manifold stripped down, and we've got that broken part brightened up with the wire wheel ready for welding. But I can't do that until I can put it back on the engine, because I need to bolt it all up to the engine to get it in the right position to get a good weld round most of it before I take it off and weld it completely. Now that would entail putting the other cylinder head back on, and here is the other cylinder head in the still clamped to the angle plate, and I was going to put a Whitworth, a quarter Whitworth helicoil in there, but I've decided to go with the original M7 by 1mm because my estimates were wrong. The M7 by 1mm is actually larger than the Whitworth, not smaller. So I'm going to order up a helicoil pack for that. I'm going to put a helicoil in there back to 7mm, and 2CV City have very kindly sent me a couple of bolts free of charge because they couldn't supply the exhaust studs. So I've got a couple of high tensile bolts, so I'll order that up tonight. That'll probably be here within a day or two. So this is now pushing on towards next week by the look of it. So what I'm going to do today is take the second cylinder head off to do really nothing more than check the combustion chamber and check the pushrod tubes, and then put it back on. So I'll crack on with that and I'll bring you back when I've got it off. I'm hoping that there is enough room there with the nice hole I've created to get the cylinder head off. There might be, there might not be. If there isn't, it isn't now much of a job to take the engine out because I'm virtually there anyway, but we'll see. Okay folks, I'll bring you back a bit later when I've got the head off. Hello again people, well there we go. It had to happen, didn't it? And I was pretty sure it wouldn't come out. And as it is, I can't get the cylinder head off anyway, so what I'm going to do now is put a fan heater onto that cylinder head, get it warmed up, and then see if it'll pop off, because that usually does it. And it gives me a chance to clear all this shit out as well, and I can rebuild it. But you can see now how I mounted the 2CV engine. These two mounts are the standard 2CV mounts, and those two mounts are two more front mounts. They're the front mounts, which I've moved round to the back and bracketed onto the you can see just down there, I've just bracketed them onto the 17mm bolts that hold the what would be the bellows knob. So that's how it mounts. Okay, so I'll have a clean up, get this fan heater onto there, and I'll bring you back when I get the head off. Preliminary examination of the pushrod tubes, they look okay, but I'm reserving judgment till I've seen all of them. Bye for now. Here's a little interim tale for you people. Some of you will recognise this as a coil pack. It's off a Volvo V70, and my cousin came down with his car yesterday and he said it's got a misfire and it's got this warning message flashing on the dashboard, and he said I've been on the internet, googled it, and he said it's a coil pack that's packed up, and showed me how to test it. So we got the, still coughing, got the multimeter out, tested it, and sure enough this one was open circuit. So we tested the other three, they were all okay. So he toddled off to the Volvo breakers this morning, bought another one, and we put the other one on, and it still misfired. So we then went and tested them all again, and another one had packed up. So we're now wondering whether we've got some sort of strange fault that's blowing these up, but I doubt it. I think they've just come to the end of the lollipop. But anyway, he's toddled off to get another one, and I think he's going to fit it there because he's taking the tools with him. He's also taking a multimeter so he can test them. But there you go. What a nuisance. Anyway, the good news is, after sitting the engine in front of a fan heater for an hour, I got the cylinder head off. There's the engine, there's all the oil I spilled. There's the engine with the cylinder head off. Don't look at the slightly broken fins. They don't matter. The bad news is the push rods have got holes in them. That one has got a... Can you actually see that? Yes, you can see that little pinhole there. That's straight through the push rod. And at this side, we've got some very bad corrosion. Actually, it's not through, as far as I can see. But I am thinking that as I have nothing to lose, I might try and TIG these up and see what happens, because as I say, I've got absolutely nothing to lose apart from another 32 quid if I have to buy another couple. I could make these on the lathe. They're a piece of 18mm tube, about 1.5mm wall thickness, but 2mm would do, with just one end reduced where the pushrod tube seals go on. The problem is I can't get any 18mm tube without either ordering it from Hong Kong or China, etc, etc, and it's giving a really 3-week delivery on it, or I can buy it in England apparently, which I actually might just bite the bullet and do it, but I need 200mm for each pushrod tube, and they sell it in 300mm lengths or 600mm lengths. So I'm going to waste an enormous amount, and it's not cheap. It's about 10 quid for 300mm, so it's not cheap. 10 quid is ludicrous for a piece of aluminium pipe, but there you go. So unless I can source any anywhere else, I'm going to have to buy two new ones. I mean, if I'm going to pay 10 quid for a piece of pipe, which is enough to make one, there's really no point in struggling. I may as well just pay 16 quid each and buy two and just fit them. But there you go. Anyway, I'm going to see what I can do with the TIG. But that probably won't be today because I've got lots of cleaning up and other stuff to do before I get to that. So there you go. I might actually have a practice on the other ones that have already got holes in them and see if I can repair them. Of course, the thing is, once you've repaired them, you've got to refit them, and that entails heating the cylinder head up, popping those in the fridge, and then very, very carefully tapping them in because they're very thin walled. Now I have a punch. I've made a punch somewhere. That's not it. I've lost my bloody punch now. Oh, there it is. There's my beautiful handmade punch, which fits in there. But what I'm wondering is if I shouldn't make a collar that goes over there, make another punch with a longer nose on it that goes right down past there to there, so that all that is lined, and then make a collar that fits over there, slides down and butts up against that, and then have a clamp that goes around there to hold it in position. Because apparently, according to the chap at 2CB City, it's very easy to damage them when you're refitting them. So this is a job that probably an hour or two on the lathe, probably not even that, is going to make the job a lot easier and be, you know, a lot more confident. So we'll see how it goes. Right, I'll bring you back when something else is happening. Bye for now. Good morning, all you people in YouTube Funland. I've been experimenting with TIGging up the holes in the pushrod tubes. It can be done. It's not bad alley. It's not bad alley, but I am a rank amateur at TIG welding alley, and I needed the practice, which is why I thought I'd have a go. Well, it's not turned out so bad. The only problem is, I don't know if you can see this, yes, you get sags inside, and of course those sags would have to be machined away because you need to give clearance for the push rods. As I said before, I believe I can get some 18mm tube in about 2 or 3 weeks from Hong Kong or China, but for what it costs and for the prattling about, I may as well just order another 2 pushrod tubes from 2CV City, because here's my 2CV City order. 84 quid in there. But 2CV City are by far the cheapest, and they're nice people as well. That's a new pushrod tube. That's 16 quid. By the time you pratt about, it's really not worth it. So I'm going to order another 2 pushrod tubes from 2CV City. But I've just rung them and nobody's answering. And I have a feeling they may be included, because they're in Bradford, they may be included in the new lockdown that's happened, and they may not be in work. But I'm going to give them another ring in a minute. So there you go. So all my bits have come. But I need another 2 pushrod tubes. I'm going to get an oil filter as well while I'm on. There's one that wasn't quite so successful yet. I mean, I can fill those holes in. But what I tried to do at first, and I may have worked out a way to do it. What I tried to do at first was, let's just go into the welding shop. Into the welding shop, doesn't that sound posh? Right, I found that these pushrod tubes fit very nicely over a piece of 15mm copper. Right, nice snug fit over a piece of 15mm copper. The only problem is the 15mm copper saps the heat away. Now aluminium saps the heat away as well, so what I did was tried with the copper in. I couldn't get enough heat up to get a puddle going to weld. As soon as I took the copper out, it started to puddle, and sure enough it's welded, but it sagged on the inside. I think maybe the way to go about this, right, and you've got to remember that I'm a crap aluminium welder. I'm just beginning to learn to watch for the puddle and start gently adding to the puddle. Plus the fact filling holes up in corroded metal. I mean, I've cleaned it and cleaned it and cleaned it, but filling holes up in corroded metal is not easy. I think the thing to do is to put the copper inside the aluminium, cut a shorter piece, put it inside the aluminium and use much more current to get my puddle going. And then with any luck, the copper is going to support the underside of the aluminium, and it won't sag into the tube, and that might work. But I have nothing to lose by messing about doing this, and I need the practice. And I can't really surge on forward because I'm now waiting for a helicoil kit for the other cylinder head, because when I measured up the Whitworth quarter and the 7mm, the 7mm was actually considerably bigger, so I'm going to go for putting the 7mm helicoil in there. And I've ordered the kit, but of course it's going to take a day or 2 to come. It's on its way. I ordered it last night, so I can crack on with that. In the meantime, I'm going to have a really good tidy up. Then I'm going to pop the barrels off, check the piston rings, put the barrels back on, get the engine ready for reassembly. I'm also going to get an oil filter from 2CV City, because some of the oil filters that you get from the ordinary oil filter shops are not good for 2CVs. Not good at all. So there you go. So that's what I'm going to do now, and I'll bring you back when I've done it. Bye for now, people. Well, people, I was halfway through repairing the only tyre on the vehicle that's now punctured. It's got 3 bloody great punctures in it from thorns, and my puncture repair fluid has gone all gloopy and knackered, so it won't work. So I'm going up to my cousin's to see if he has any naphtha to thin it with. Because he's also called me up to fix his central heating. This is the job that got full of water when it rained the other day. So that looks like 2 CV cylinder head. That looks like it's going to be it for this week. But if I get any chance to film any more, I'll bring you back. I was about to push. I've been a bit doddery today, I must admit. I was about to push that outside and pressure wash it, and I thought, no, better than that. Repair the bloody tyre, and then it stays up, and then we can move it around whenever we want. So I took the grass deck off, which is dead easy actually. Took the tyre off, braid it off with a piece of angle iron. Here's a good tip for you. Piece of angle iron. Take the corners off it with a grinder, make sure it's got no sharp corners or sharp edges on it. Hammered into the rim against the tyre like that. Freeze all the bead off. Right. There's my puncture repair fluid, which is now like, it should be sort of like cream, and it's like Evo stick. It's all gloopy and horrible. It needs some more naphtha put in it, but I haven't got any, and he's a chemist type, so he might have some. So there you go. So for this week, folks, it's been a bit of a disastrous week really. Everything's bloody gone wrong. I couldn't even order another two push rod tubes and oil filter because they're not answering. I wonder if they've been locked down. They've not come into work today. Anyway, I'll email him. I'll email him the order, and he can ring me back if he needs my card number again. So there you go. Right, chaps, very unsatisfactory week, but next week we'll do better. Next year in Israel. Bye for now.